Hey, thanks for making it to Veterans Info Tap. I'm glad you made it. I just wanted to throw out there why is it important to talk about, do videos on, and just be aware of the things that are going on with regard to veterans benefits, the VA specifically, our funding, different pieces of legislation, and all of that. Just wanted to give you my mindset on that and just kind of talk through that a little bit. Please hit the thumbs up, subscribe, share with a friend, all that good stuff. I really do appreciate it. Thank you so much. Our channel here is really one of the fastest, if not the fastest, growing veteran-related channel, and it's thanks to you guys, right? I do my best to be consistent and get the information out to you. I want to be somebody that you can rely on, just like I can rely on you. It's a team effort, and together we're getting more information out. I really appreciate every single one of you. All right, so why is it important? I'm just, like I said, I'm just giving you my thoughts. Like if we're sitting down talking and kind of my mindset on things. I'm going to start this off with the $3 billion shortfall. Do I think that Congress, House and Senate, are going to just let veterans not get paid and not fund it? No. No. Of course they're going to fund it. Could there potentially be a delay? Sure. Sure. Tiny delay, maybe. Um, so it's not so really I could sit back and be like, who cares, right? It's going to happen and big deal, right? We're not going to lose money. It'll just get delayed. And I could not say anything and not post anything and not talk about it. It's bigger than the $3 billion thing, right? It's bigger than the $3 billion shortfall because that is going to get handled. That's not the issue, right? The way I look at this is we, as a veteran sphere, right? The veteran sphere, which is veterans, spouses, dependents, surviving spouses, and so forth, right? All of us together, we need to show our elected officials that we are actually paying attention, right? There are, and I've said it before, I'm just doing it again, there are plenty of loud groups out there, and I will tell you that elected officials will pander and work with the loud groups because they want the support and the votes and all that stuff. If we're not a loud group, then we just get what we're handed, right? We cannot just sit quietly and get what we're handed. We need to demand it and be a loud group about it because here's my fear. The veteran population as a whole is a shrinking population, right? The greatest generation is dwindling. The veteran population is dwindling, and it's that's a truth that is happening. Of that population, it's a very small population of disabled veteran, right, receiving VA disability compensation. Now, do I think that that's the way it should? No, I think that many people are missing out on benefits that they have earned, sadly. And the truth is that only about 30% or less of the veteran population are actually receiving VA benefits. So, what does that equate to? Oh, 7 million ish, probably less than 7 million veterans across the nation, right, are disabled veterans. So, when you separate that out per state, what are we looking at? Let's see, 40, 80, 120, 140, about 140,000 veterans per state. Obviously, the big states have more, the smaller states have less, but average, right? If we just divided it down, so about 140,000 veterans per state is if my math is doing me right. That's not very many, right? What U.S. senator is like, oh my gosh, I really need to make sure I please those 140,000 disabled veterans in the state, right, to make sure I get my election. In some states, like a California, for example, with 40 million people or so in it, 140,000 is not much. So now again, it's going to be more in that state versus others. But again, the point that I'm trying to make is that we are not as big as we think we are. And so we need to be louder because we're not as big. Now, how can we be louder? One, I think, and this is just me, some politicians out there, and I'm just saying that, some politicians just think that nobody's paying attention and they're just going to, check a box or whatever. So paying attention is important. So pushing out videos potentially shows that we're paying attention by views, by thumbnails, by that type of stuff. That the awareness campaign, for lack of a better way of framing that, is on its way. I'm a fan of utilizing the veteran service organizations as well as a way, because they go champion things on the Hill. Now, here's a funny number. The American Legion has two. Stan's already tired of me talking. So anybody who's still hanging on after 6 minutes, hit the thumbs up if you're there. Put a comment in on my rambling. The American Legion has 2 million people. I believe they're the biggest veteran service organization. 2 million people, strewn across the U.S. What is that? That's 40,000 members if you just divided it per state. Again, I know California, Florida, Texas, New York are going to have higher numbers than, say, South Dakota. But averaged out, just how many per, small numbers, right? Small numbers. When it comes to, as you drill it down into a smaller geographic area, how much power do we really have, right? So we can't rely on politicians doing the right thing. We have the VA, for example, who's constantly changing rules and regulations and changing how they do things. We have stuff that goes in, changing how the rating schedules work, changing ambulatory services, all that stuff. If we're not loud enough for our congressional members to hear us, bad things can happen, and they have happened, right? It's sitting on our hands and just being spoon-fed is not right, at least for me. I refuse to do that. And I refuse to do that not just for myself, but for all of my brothers and sisters. The other aspect that I wanted to throw out there is we, again, need to start really focusing our numbers, because remember, the veteran population is declining. It's decreasing. So instead of talking about this is how many veterans, we need to really kind of adopt that veteran sphere approach. The veteran, the spouse, the surviving spouse, the dependents, right? That's the number. Because then you can take that 7 million disabled veterans and really call it, 18 million, right? Because of spouse and surviving spouse and dependents and so forth. So we can bolster up our numbers to make sure that we get the benefits that we've earned and we're promised. To sit back and hope that people do the right thing for you, I don't think is the right approach. And again, do I think they're going to do it? Yeah. And will some people do things for the right reasons? Sure. But when you come to a position in which you are elected, many of these elected officials wish to be reelected, and they are going to make strategic moves in order to get reelected. And depending on what categories are going to warrant the most votes is how they're going to make their pleas and their adjustments, in my opinion, right? I was never elected to anything, so I didn't have to, go on and do that. But I've been around enough elected officials to understand that that's the way it works, right? So with that, thanks for watching. I appreciate you. Have a great one. And remember, if we don't take care of each other, something went wrong.